Welcome back to the Cart Barn. Happy New Year, everyone. We are excited to get this year going. Greg, not a lot going on in the world of golf right now. It's about to snow in the next day or so, but we did have a new golf event that came on TV the other night, the TGL. Did you watch that?
I did. I recorded it, fast forwarded through some of the parts that weren't very interesting. I'm going to give it a second and third, maybe fourth chance. It's not usually really my thing to the simulator golf, but it was a pretty good production. They had some issues. I think they'll get it straightened out. I'd like to see maybe a little more. They were talking over the players were talking over each other a lot, and that kind of I really didn't know who was talking. I think maybe if they mic'd up one guy or two guys on the team and might be a little better. But the shot making was fine. It's a little weird seeing them around the greens.
It's a little different, but there's some elements of it that I thought were kind of interesting, and I think that maybe it will appeal to a different audience. Um, than your traditional golfer. But I thought it was kind of interesting and kind of fun. The fact that they've got real grass on their tees and their bunkers and all that was kind of cool.
Yeah, the set was amazing. I think there were some times when they were like ads were rotating in the background, like for KPMG and stuff. That was a little distracting to me, but
Yeah, my wife said it made her dizzy.
I can see that. And another one of my friends said they need to introduce like a wind element into the simulator and um,
Get some big fans going.
something where it's a little more not benign conditions for them. So I don't know. It's an interesting concept, and when you have we're in the winter doldrums here, and in Alabama, it's not been great golf weather, and probably won't be for a while.
I was freezing this morning just taking the trash to the curb.
Exactly. So it's something to. Uh, I think 2 hours is too long. I think an hour and a half, or some people mentioned 9-hole matches to get it done
Mhm.
in an hour would be
Yeah.
good.
I thought the 3-man alternate shot was pretty cool though. And inside golf, I believe that and short courses is a direction the game is maybe heading.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it's certainly it's certainly something I think new people being drawn to the game might gravitate to.
Well, so many people have got simulators in their homes, and you've got all these studios that have simulators, and you can play any course in the world just about. It's kind of a place where people are gravitating to, and
Yeah.
it makes sense in a way. I haven't really embraced the simulator stuff yet, um, but who knows? I might. One thing I did think about is maybe they should just have like a random amateur golfer lottery, and you join the instead of having three pros, have the two pros, and then just the random Joe off the street to come in and
Well,
play.
since
And
it's your idea, maybe they'll get you to go first.
I would. I don't know if I would do it. I'd embarrass myself. I mean, wouldn't it be great though to see Joe Amateur shank one and
And
miss
and,
the
and then they've
screen?
got to play from there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Uh, how hard is it when you're hitting it 310, 320 down the middle to play like they do? Just have like the lottery for the Masters tickets. Have a lottery to let two guys come in and play. One guy might be a 30 handicap, or one guy might be a two. But just random. Spice it up.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah.
The one other thing we should mention too is you saw where the PJ Tour now is going to have three content creator tournaments, 1 day tournaments like they did before the PGA Tour Championship in Eastlake, where they brought in Paige Spiranek and I don't know, Fat Perez or whatever his name is. They're having three of those this year.
They are. I have
Yeah,
not seen that. Well,
saw
tell me
that.
more.
And well, it's just it's the same concept. I think the PGA Tour is finally kind of embracing the YouTube golf sensation because their ratings and the viewership numbers were down so much last year for pro golf. So they're finally in their antiquated method, for so long, just the same stuff. They're trying some different stuff. Now, whether you're into the YouTube golfers or not, I don't know.
Well, this wasn't planned, but now that you bring up YouTube, I think it would be remiss if we didn't let the people know the Cart Barn is now on YouTube. It's always been a plan for us to eventually have a YouTube channel. These podcasts, we do record audio and video, so we are now on YouTube. It's still a work in progress, but you can start getting the Cart Barn on YouTube if you'd like, either in a podcast version or you can watch the videos. We're going to go back and be releasing past episodes with video. And the first one that we've already launched and is live now is the Sam Farlow podcast that we did a few months ago. And as we are remembering him and his family and during this time of his passing. So yeah, check us out. We would love it if you would give us a follow on YouTube. It would help out the channel.
Yeah, it would, and I think it just adds another element to what we're trying to do with the podcast and telling stories of Alabama golf and the characters who have kind of forged what it is today. So, yeah, check us out on YouTube, or just keep listening to the podcasts.
Yeah. You can find us anywhere that you get your podcast, obviously, and on YouTube, just search Cart Barn Podcast.
I mean,
Well,
to see us in action, I mean, what a treat.
yeah. Well, I've said from the get go that I've got a face for radio and a voice for newspaper. So there you go.
There you go. I just had the face for newspaper.
Mm. So getting into this week's podcast, why don't you set it up? We've got Kathy Hartwiger, and gosh, what a career that she's had.
She was awesome. I mean, she's the most decorated player. She's won more AGA championships than anyone, and she recently moved to Pinehurst. Her husband works for the USGA, and she's taken her gifted golf game up there and is now beating the wheels off everybody up there in the Carolinas. But she's a wonderful person, a wonderful player. She's got some great stories. She played in the U.S. Senior Am, Senior Amateur, U.S. Senior Open. So it was fun to catch up with her. I think everybody will enjoy listening to Kathy and us and our banter.
Yeah, let's get into this week's podcast with Kathy. Welcome back to the Cart Barn. Today, we are excited to welcome the most decorated amateur that we've had on the podcast to date, Kathy Hartwiger. Kathy, welcome to the Cart Barn.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited and excited to talk about Alabama golf again.
Kathy, it's such a treat to have you. Just looking over your resume and everything you've done in the game of golf, and I think it's important that we have you on and just to hear your story and how you managed to become one of the best amateur players in the world. I think number 5 in the women's amateur golf rankings. Is that the senior rankings or the
Senior, but actually, and I'm not that now. I've been one for when I first started back playing, but now I'm probably 10, 11, somewhere in there.
that's just you just dropped off the charts, right?
I know.
Oh my, just sliding down.
Uh-huh.
So just give us a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up? How did you get into the game?
My dad was in the military, so we moved every couple of years and played lots of different sports. Not golf, not real interested in golf, but my mom was an excellent golfer. She actually won the Alaska State Amateur 3 years in a row. And we lived in Panama, and she won the Panamanian Open, the Open, like twice. So she was about a 3, 4, 5 handicap, somewhere in there. So I would drive the cart occasionally, and I knew a lot about golf just from them talking about it. But kind of like a lot of kids, I liked the faster sports. So I played tennis and volleyball and pool. I played pretty much anything and swam. I did a lot of things. And then we moved to Alaska, of all places. And that's where I started playing golf. So, crazy place to start playing golf. But
The season up there is what, June 1st to June 15th?
yeah, it's about 3 months, 3 months good. Yeah.
Wow. Where in Alaska were you living?
We lived at Fort Wainwright, which is in Fairbanks.
Okay.
So I played at, we had a 9-hole course on our base. And then we also had Fairbanks Country Club, which I just recently, we actually had our women's senior amateur, USGA senior amateur up there 2 years ago. So I got to go back, or it might be 3 years now. It was in Anchorage, but it was pretty awesome getting to go back to the place I started.
Yeah, there's something about that, going back where you kind of grew up playing, that it really gives you a special feeling.
Yes. I had some people came out during the event. They had done the USGA had done a short story and they put it on their website. And I actually got started mainly because my volleyball coach in high school, he was an excellent golfer. He's passed away now, but his name was Steve Lackey. And I had mentioned him in the article because he just gave me lessons to start out with. And he ended up playing in a couple of USGA senior men's opens when he had moved back to Arizona. So he was an excellent golfer. And I had 2 people come out that were friends with him. They had just read it online and wanted to come out. And then I had multiple people that came out that knew my mom. And she had passed away by the time I played there. But it was very cool.
What's it like? I mean, I envision Alaska golf as 3 inches of snow on the side of the greens. What are the conditions like up there, and how late can you play? Is it basically June through August, or?
In Fairbanks, it's you're June through August, and you might get to push it a little bit through that, in there depending on the year. And Fairbanks and Alaska golf or Anchorage golf are very different because Fairbanks being in the interior, you don't have the greatest conditions. And like the irrigation that they do now, they didn't even have irrigation when I played. You just pretty much played on what was there, which was, mainly weeds. But now they run their irrigation above ground, kind of like giant hoses. Because when we played there, that was much better conditioning in Fairbanks, but still not the same because Anchorage is, a little milder on the water. It's got more of the water there. And so they get a little more season, and they also get they have some incredible conditions. They can.
Yeah.
Granted, we had when we got there, the greens, and I got a phone call because my husband works for the USGA. He's an agronomist. And so they called one of his buddies said, okay, tell Kathy to practice putting on the shag, carpet in the living room because the greens were like 7. But they know what to do. The USGA is great. And these guys that work up there, they do other jobs the rest of the year. This is what they do. So we got the greens probably to about 10 and a half. And they were very undulating. So you wouldn't have wanted them. And they probably could have made them faster. So it was incredible. The members couldn't wait to get out and play it. Even the guys on the crew, they begged on the day of the finals. They said, let us play in the afternoon. We want to see what this is like. So that was a neat experience too, to see them have so much success.
That may be the slowest USGA greens in history.
Right. Well, and by the time we actually played them, they weren't. So that was incredible. But yeah, that would have been rough.
So when did you kind of see yourself as having this, taking golf extremely seriously and playing competitively?
Well, back in the day, back when I was playing, the gals golf wasn't quite, and we still lag behind the men. We're catching up a lot as far as the number of people that play and the scores and all of that. But when I was playing, I started playing, played 3 months between my junior and senior year, and then I got the bug and I wanted to go play in college, which was crazy to think of. But because my mom was good and I think there was something mental about that because I was like, I can beat her. I mean, that's my mom. I can beat her. And I was athletic. So that helped bringing other things to it. But I do think playing with my mom, I watched her do all kinds of things that I think there's a mental and visual component to learning that I got, bonus there. So I ended up going to the University of Iowa and walking on the team. And I really literally had played golf for about 6 months, but a lot of golf. I would go hang out at the golf course all day. And then I had my volleyball coach help me. My mom helped me. And I was just, it's a bonus. And I'm a person that funnels in and focuses. And that's a very strong, that's a good thing in some areas. And it can be rough in other areas. So, it's learning how to, not get too tunnel visioned on things because life isn't just, that's as I've gotten older, life is not, all just one thing. But yeah, I was intense. And then I ended up transferring to the William and Mary in Virginia for my second year and stayed there. So, I knew then, and I kind of wanted to turn pro. I thought about it and, just wasn't good enough then, I don't think. And I realized I went to California after college thinking I might they had like a Golden Bear type of tour there. We didn't have the tour they have in Florida now for the women, but, I just realized I didn't want to be on the road all that much. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, he was getting a job and if he had wanted to be my caddy, I probably would have tried it. And knowing what we know now, we would have probably tried it. But, we were intent, you got to get a job and, we were kind of intent on that. So, but it worked out well. I'm happy with the way things worked out.
Yes.
So how was your time playing at in college at William and Mary, and um, did you guys have a pretty good team?
We it was I struggled a little bit at Iowa mainly because I was so new to golf, and I wasn't on a scholarship, so I would qualify for the trips and I wouldn't go because she would be taking people she was, you know, uh, had invested in. So that was frustrating. That's what led to my transfer. Was I was frustrated with that. And then at William and Mary, yes, we were pretty good. We won the ECAC conference, which we were in then. And I was number one on the team most of the time once I got there. So I had an assistant coach at the University of Iowa. She was a tremendous teacher, instructor, and she helped my swing so much. So I just improved, pretty rapidly. But again, I like a lot of people, I got burnt out in college. I stopped after I graduated for a little while. But luckily, my husband, he loves golf and he loves it for all the right reasons. And so he just makes it fun. And he's still one of my favorite people to play with because he just has fun. So it reminds me why I played, started playing in the beginning. And then we lived in North Carolina. He was in graduate school. And I just said, I'm going to try some of these amateur things. I hadn't really known much about them. And I started going to them and I got, hooked on that. That's how that started.
And I know you were, I guess, did you get your degree in education and eventually started teaching?
I had my degree in psychology and a minor in geology of all things, but yes. And then I ended up kind of deciding I wanted to teach, and I was an earth and space science teacher up in Washington D.C. when I first started,
Mm.
and I actually had a provisional because they were going through a teacher shortage, so I never did have to go back and get my teaching degree. I just taught for 2 years, and that was enough to give you your teaching certificate because they were strapped for science teachers then.
When did y'all find your way to Alabama?
So he got the job with the USGA, and we had a choice on where to move. They kind of recommended Birmingham, so we went to visit, and we loved it. It's a beautiful place with the hills and golf, and I've said this when I was leaving Alabama. I was at one of the AGA things, and I I had just kind of thought back on my time in Alabama. And, before I moved to Alabama, I had won one invitational at Keith Hills here in North Carolina, not too far from where I live now. And I just struggled with, other things. I just struggled with the winning part. And so Alabama was the place that I learned how to do that. It was a, great place.
What do you think made the difference in being competitive and then to being a consistent winner?
When I first started playing in the USGA things, mentally I am very strong, and I put that back to being a child of a military guy, and just growing up moving every 2 years and kind of having those obstacles. But I played in the U.S. We had a new instructor at Hoover Country Club. Her name was Michelle Drinkard, and she had just come. She'd only been there about probably a month. And I was getting ready for the women's mid-am, and it was bad. I had I think my son was 6 months old and my daughter was a year and a half. And I was at the golf course the day before I was leaving, and it was not good. And I always had a little hitch in my swing, this kind of weird little thing that I did, but I played enough that it was okay. I could repeat it. So I was going to my car, and I was feeling like this is going to be bad. And she was coming back from lunch, and she, said hi, and she was like, "How's it going?" And this isn't like me either, but I just kind of broke down, and I'm like, terrible. This is going to be horrible. And she was like, "Come on, come to the range for a second. Let me give you a couple Band-Aids." And so that started. She gave me enough of a Band-Aid that I won 2 matches. I made match play, won 2 matches, and I didn't have to qualify to go the next year. And that's big when you have 2 little kids, to not have to qualify. You you're going, you can plan your trip, you can, do all of that. And so when I got back, I said, okay, I want you I'm going to work with you, if you will. I want you to give me a repeatable, very simple swing like Annika Sorenstam has. Back, forward. I don't want this extra stuff that I do that I have to I can't practice like this anymore with my kids. And so we came up with a plan, and for probably about, I think from that November to April, I did not play because I know myself. And the minute I go on the golf course and I can't hit the ball right, I'll go back to what I was doing before. And so I did drills. She had one of these it was the first thing you could have at home, like an e-computer thing, where I could hook it up to my video camera and I could do drills while my kids were napping. And so I did drills all the time. Then I finally started playing golf, and I went to the Women's Southern that was at Montgomery Country Club, and I was with all the young girls, and I made it to match play, and I think I won 1 or 2 matches, but I was playing very well. Like, I knew that swing was good. And then I didn't lose anything else the rest of the season, including the women's mid-am. I mean, that was just unbelievable in 10 months, what she did with my swing, and obviously the confidence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's go back just a second, just to clarify for myself and the listeners. You're talking about the U.S. women's mid-am, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So in
Where was that
2002
played? Where was that played?
at Eugene Country Club in
Nice.
Eugene.
Eugene, Oregon. Yeah. So at that point, when you were struggling with that swing and taking that lesson, had you started winning in the state at that point, or?
Yeah. Not to okay, so let's see. I think I had won 1997. I was on the team that won the USGA state team championship. So Alabama, we won that. So that was in 97. I think I might have won 1 state amateur, but I think I had won 1. But it was, yes, I had won 1, but I'm pretty sure. But it was pretty clear. Like, what I told her too is, like, I'm mentally tough enough to do this, but my swing it's just not good enough. It's not that it's not good enough, but I need something that I can rely on when it gets really, tough. So I say that was the beginning of it, because then I won our state amateur that year. I won the state stroke play that year in Alabama, and I won the women's mid amateur that year. So it was like everything I entered, I won after that initial one. A lot of confidence.
Hmm.
How far has women's golf come in Alabama since those days? Because it seems like it has really improved leaps and bounds.
Yes, and everywhere it has. I would say something happened in golf, and Tiger Woods is possibly part of it, even for the women. But Michelle Wee and some of these other kids that came, this new swing, that it's more of a swing of power. The girls are doing it now. So I play with people. I still play in the mid-am some, depending on what's going on, depending on if I get an exemption. I play with people that can hit it, 70 to 100 yards past me with no problem at all. And that was not happening at all when I was playing. And in fact, when I was, so once that started, and I had played in some US amateurs also before I met Michelle. My very first USGA championship was in 1994, and I played the women's amateur. And I used to love getting to play the younger girls because I had a mental advantage over them. And especially because they would think, oh, this is going to be an easy match. And then it wasn't. That changed also. Probably, that Tiger time in the early 2000s, they started going to the David Ledbetter. They started doing the mental toughness. They started doing their nutrition, because that was the other thing. These girls didn't do the nutrition. They were still eating Snicker bars, and they were still doing all this stuff that you're like, okay, not drinking enough water in the middle of the summer, and things that I could see was happening to them at the end of the round, but they didn't think it was important. That's changed. They're all doing it now. So yeah, and then the equipment changes too. Somebody was talking about, they played here in Pinehurst they have a tournament every year where they use the old hickory clubs. And I was recalling that I had, I had some Jack Nicklaus persimmon woods that were beautiful. They were that blonde wood.
Mm-hmm.
And I had that, in college. I think we started going to the metal. So lots changed there too.
Yeah, let's just thinking back to, the number of wins that you've had, certainly in the state, but you've been successful around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about that. You referenced your mental toughness, but you're going into a tournament, you're winning, you feel like you're supposed to win. Sometimes that can be
Mm-hmm.
a negative thing.
Oh yeah.
How did you overcome that?
Well, a lot of tears. I mean, it's very difficult to me. Sometimes the hardest tournaments to play are the local ones where you are, or one where you're going in, the favorite, because other people's expectations and your own, they're not helpful typically to at least the kind of golf I like to play. I mean, I like to play golf where I have it. I think what's happened to me over the years too is the perspective has been fleshed out, because I think we all, have thoughts. I know I did. I had thoughts in my mind, if I just won this, then everything would be great. And then I'd win something in the state. Oh, well, and everything would be good. It's all so temporary when it comes
Mm,
to something like that. And golf too is you the next tournament, you're teeing it up at zero again. There is no, benefit to it. You don't get to start, with a couple of extra shots. Yeah, so I think that was key, being able to say this, and Scotty Scheffler has some incredible, I love him. He has some incredible quotes. One of my favorites that resonates with me is golf is something that I do. It is not who I am. And
yeah.
being able to really, when I can let that sink into my whole being, is when I play the funnest golf too, freest golf. Because it's in there. It's usually hampered by either expectations I have, so that tightens things up, or, sometimes you're just a little off, and accepting, having to accept that day or this little period of time, you're not going to be quite as on as you are, always. There's another great quote that I love that Padraig Harrington said at the Golf Hall of Fame this year. He said, golf was never supposed to be a fair game. It's to test your skill and your mental fortitude. And to me, what hits me there is, golf's really, I used to always say that you got to be lucky too. So, and that's what tests your mental fortitude. I can be playing somebody and we both hit it in the rough and I have a nice lie and the other person is getting a bogey. And we both hit the same, we didn't hit the fairway. And so then if it happens the other way and I'm the one that has the bad lie, do I have the mental fortitude to say, that's just the way it is. Keep your head down, keep going. So I've gotten better and better at that as I've gotten older. And, having kids, I always thought kids was going to be the kind of the end of my competition. And in fact, I took a year off of college, or not college, sorry. I took a year off of teaching before I had my daughter because I told my husband, I'm like, I want to play in some more stuff before we have kids because that's it. And then what ended up happening, and this, I alluded to this before, I have a tendency to overdo things. And I had overdone training, everything when I didn't that year. And it was clear to me too, it's not good when golf is my one thing. I overdo it. So after having kids is when the real successes came because I had this grounding of golf is just something I do. I'm a mom and look how they don't care about how I play. They love me. There was something incredible about that really I think was transformative along with changing my swing. That and having the perspective of, ultimately my kids, they don't really even know. They know I play golf, but they don't really get it, at that age. They just love me.
Right. We recently recorded an episode with Trey Mullinax, and he said he's got 4 kids. He said the same thing. It doesn't matter. He walks off the 18th green. They want to go get ice cream. They don't care what he shot.
Right.
And
they make you laugh about stuff when and those times when you got a pit in your stomach, and your kids just help you with that. And speaking of Trey Mullinax, I have I took lessons also. So after Michelle Drinkard left, I started with Archie Burroughs and have had, 15 years, 20 years almost with Archie. Love him. So I've never met Trey in person, but I feel like I know him because Archie always shows me Trey's swing to teach me something. He has stuff up on his wall with notes that Trey wrote him, and what a great story that is. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Did Archie have you? Trey told us a story about Archie making him stand next to a wall, and the swing could never hit the wall. Did Archie give you that drill too?
Oh yeah, and I hit it, and I've done crazy things in his studio too, and I'm sure Trey has also because it's a tight little spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll hit
there's
things.
A lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, and he's got he makes these he makes the stuff. He'll see it online, and in fact he just sent one. I have a friend that comes and visits me every year, and she takes lessons from Archie now too. So she'll bring me whatever his latest gadget is that he thinks I need, to work on my swing. So it's great. Out of swim noodles and PVC pipe and.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have one kind of favorite tournament memory that really stands out in all of them, or any one experience?
I have a lot. I'll tell you the one that just popped in my head when you asked me that. The year I had won 9 Alabama State amateurs, and the next year it was at Hoover Country Club, which was my club, and we had gone through a renovation, so very few people had played it with the new way that the holes were. And I think one of my favorite memories is just playing the matches and the members coming out and supporting me. And I had a group because my kids were little. There was these older guys that would get the first tee time a lot in different groups, but there were a few different ones, and they would always let me tee off in front of them because I would be by myself trying to get in, 18 and then get home so my husband could get to work and take care of the kids, and they not only did they get it, no one got annoyed, they loved it that I was out there, and they were just so supportive. And so I think playing that event there, one of my favorite memories, it was in the round of, there were 4 of us left, and I was playing a young girl, and I think I was 1 down going into 17, and I had like a 45 or 50-foot putt on 17, and I made it. And then going into 18, I felt pretty good because all the girls were playing 18 incorrectly with the new way we had the course. And I knew how to play it. They were laying up, and there was this bunker you could not get into that was about 40 yards from the green. And they would lay up and get in that bunker because of just the way the ball would bounce sometimes. And then it was, the lip was so high, it was just a tough shot. And I just would go ahead and go over that bunker, even though there was water, but I knew how to play the hole. And so I ended up birding that hole and winning that match and getting to the finals. So I'll remember that putt, and just the memories of the members there, that they were just so excited, and to have it, to win the 10th one there was very cool.
How often in the state tournaments did you feel like when you teed it up that there was nobody in the field that was going to beat you?
Well, when I first started playing there, we had it in the fall, and I even think they still had a rule then. That was when we were not combined with the men. So we were the WAGA, the WAGA,
Mm-hmm.
Women's Golf, Alabama Golf Association. We had it in the fall, and I don't think they allowed, I think you had to be over 18. So we never had any, and we didn't have a lot of young phenoms then like we do now either. But so for the first, few, 6, 7, usually it was people that I knew. I probably head to head in match play, I knew I was probably going to do well. And then, but we started getting people, like we have um Goodson. Gosh, I'm having trouble remembering her first name. She's a big time swimmer. She played in golf. She doesn't play golf. She played golf in college. She came back and started playing. So we had a good match at Birmingham Country Club for one of the state titles. And then we had a switch, and they had the young girls. We made it so it was in the summer because we wanted them to be able to play. And so once that started, that was great because, I won probably about 5 of mine against the young girls, which was great. Those were usually much closer and, yeah, much tougher. A couple of them one of them went to sudden death, Carlin Beck. And she's back playing again also. I think she's married now, so she has a different last name, but I saw her at one of my last events before I moved.
How was it a milestone when they combined the WAGA with the AGA? How important was that?
Well, yeah, that was great. And I would say, that's one of the things I have memories from the WAGA also, like these women, Jean Miller. I don't know if you know some of these names. A lot of them have passed away, but Jean Miller was out of Birmingham Country Club and Mountain Brook, and she's one of my favorite people of all time. They gave up their time, and it was incredible. And to be, like I've told them many times, I would have never developed into the player I was if they hadn't had these events. So those gals were great. We wanted to join because they were switching every couple years. The consistency of our events were not what they, probably what the AGA was able to provide. So yes, it was big when we combined, and that really helped. Also, that was happening at the same time that our girls and juniors were getting better. So, Buford was our first. Buford and Daryl Curry were big in that merge.
Mm-hmm.
Carol Lell, and big reason why it happened, and Jean Miller too. And I helped with some of that because, I did want it to happen because I felt like that was the way of, and the USGA really was encouraging of it also, because it is helpful to be able to have the resources. And as the WAJ, we were coming in from a great position because Jean Miller and I had worked with B. McQuain she had won our state amateur back in the 50s, and she's of the McQueen family. They gave us an endowment for the WAJ, so that was big to be able to go in with that with the men. We had and that was during the time when I think that we were all having some financial issues. It might have been in '08. I can't remember exactly when it happened, but during, everybody was kind of worrying about golf at the time.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was great. And then obviously we have Andy Priest, who came and did some incredible things. And then now I have the bonus, he's coming back here.
Yeah, I stole him away from Alabama.
We brought him back, yeah. And he's the reason I'm a member where I am now. Because I called him when we were moving here and said, okay, you know me pretty well. Tell me about my choices in Pinehurst. And he's building a house. I could probably hit my driver to his house. I can't see it, but he's building in here in Pinewild. So he may be a member. I don't know if he's joining, but.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that you've played in at least one women's U.S. Open.
Not in an open, no.
Okay.
Senior, I've played in 2 senior opens.
2 senior opens. Okay. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about those.
Okay, that was fabulous. And I had, when my kids were getting high school, while my daughter was a junior in high school, I ended up taking some time off from golf. And I was also working. I was a school counselor then. And I took time off because I was missing some things, trying to golf, work full time, and have 2 kids in high school. So I took some time off, and that's when they started the Women's Senior Open, which was disappointing because I turned 50 during that time, but I was not playing. But so when I came back after retiring, I said, I'm going to try for that. So I've played in it twice now. I've tried to qualify twice and played in it twice. And last year, in 2023, my first year, I got to play a practice round with Annika Sorenstam, which I've mentioned her before. One of the things I do in my pre-shot routine has her name in it. So it's Annika Simple, where it's the back and forward. And I remember when I found out I might get to play a practice round with her, I was talking to my daughter and I said, the weird part is I'm going to be swinging. And every time I go to swing, I'm going to be saying Annika Simple, and she's going to be standing right there, with me. And my daughter said, Mom, don't tell her that. That's creepy. I said, I'll wait. Okay, I won't tell her. You're right. I'll wait until we're, best friends. Then I can tell her that she's part of my. So that was incredible. And the first one, the not expecting a lot, but I think playing the practice round with her, I was way more nervous playing the practice round with her than I was on the first day. And the first day I ended up shooting 70 and I was tied for second. And I was not at all mentally prepared for that. That is not what I went in with no expectations, just kind of like, let's make the cut. And so I went out the next day and I was tight. So that was rough. But, then last year I got to play with Katrin Nilsmark and another gal that was on the tour for a long time. And it's just great. It's so nice to hear them compress the ball, just being able to play with them. It's been great.
How did you manage to get a practice round with Annika?
Well, okay, so that's a funny story too. So my husband works for the USGA. So when I first qualified, I said, who does the Women's Senior Open? What USGA person? I said, can you ask them if they can help me? Can I get a practice round with Annika? And my husband is very dry humor, and he goes, no, you will go into the portal like everyone else and get your own get a practice round. So I'm like, you're right. Okay. So I'm, kind of still fuming about it a little bit. And our site in North Carolina happened to be the first one. So they sent me the information for the portal, and I went in and I see Annika with a friend of mine that was a member she's also an amateur, and another person, and an opening in her foursome. And I just typed my name in. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to play with her. And then, but I told a few people, but I was really nervous because practice round time, that gets changed a lot. Somebody's tired, it rains. I kept thinking she could just decide she doesn't want to play that day. But I felt good because she was paired. I knew she signed up with this friend of mine because she was a member of that course. And I figured Annika wanted to play with her. and hear about the course. And it was Annika's first practice round. So I'm like, okay, she'll probably want to play 18 and she maybe won't switch it. So, I kept having hopes, but until I actually teed off and she teed off with me, I was still, kind of like, okay, don't be too disappointed if this doesn't happen.
How was she during the round, and did y'all
Yeah.
converse a lot, or?
Yeah, super nice. She's quiet, but I'm kind of quiet too, even though I, talk. I mean, she has a radio show now too, so she talks a lot, but she's quiet, but her husband's not, and he was caddying for her. And so we chatted a ton, and she's a very kind person. So we had a great time. And then I got to go to the Masters I guess this year for one day. And so my husband and I were leaving, and I didn't see her, but she was, she's on their, she has a green jacket. She's on their committee or whatever, or a member. And my husband said, "Oh, there's your friend. There's Annika." And he was, teasing me. And I said, "Oh," and so I turned to go say hi to her. And he's like, "Oh, don't bother her. Don't bother her." And I'm like, "Why not? Like, I played a practice round with her. I know she probably doesn't remember me." So I went up, and she was with her husband and her 2 kids. And I said, "Annika, you probably don't remember me, but I played a practice round with you." And she goes, "Oh, yes, Kathy, I do. And are you playing this year?" And, we just had a nice conversation. Her son had just played whatever. They have like a little putting thing at Augusta. I don't know. It's only for members. So it was just nice. And her husband was like, "Oh, how's it going?" And then this year, of course, we chatted on the putting green a few times. And then her husband and my husband, Annika and I, were reversed this year. So like I was early late and she was late early. And so her husband and my husband would constantly compare notes on, how was it playing and what was the win, that kind of stuff. So that was kind of funny too. So maybe someday, I'll get to play with her again. I would like to.
Neat story.
Yeah.
Was there anything about her game that maybe you didn't know you were impressed with?
Just my dispersion pattern is pretty good. Hers is a whole nother level. Like when she goes to, she hits her drives, it's unbelievable. And then the way she does her turn. So that's the one thing I've been working on this year, because she just has a lot of power in her swing. And it's because she doesn't do any of this, sway off and sway on. She turns. And so being able to play with her and see that, I mean, she's just incredible. And really nice that she's a nice person. It was nice to play with her and have her be so kind.
Yeah, I mean, that can be a little intimidating when you meet, get into play a practice round, and sometimes people aren't what you think they're going to be. And
right.
But it's nice that she was approachable and friendly, and
yeah, very nice.
So I know, I remember you coached the Hoover girls team, right?
Yes, I did.
How did you enjoy that?
I did. I had a great time doing that. I mean, there was always drama because you got, high school girls, but yes, I loved it. The men's coach at the time had asked me. He had we had one very good girl golfer, and she was going to play with the boys. And he said, "Would you ever want to do, if we could get a girls team, you just have to get 2 more people." And so I asked the girl that was, pretty good. I said, "Do you have any friends that play?" So she had one person that knew a little bit how to play. And then I just started asking the kids in my science class, like, "Any athletes in here want to try golf? Anybody want to be on the golf team? You'll be you'll be a founding member, we'll be the, first." And so I had a little girl that was a volleyball player who I just, we hit it off, and I'm still friends with her today. She lives in Greensboro, or Winston-Salem, actually. Yeah, so I got 3 girls, and we started the team. And so I think it was in 94, 95, somewhere in there, 95, 96, 97, I think somewhere in 95. Yeah, so we had a great time. The next year, I think we had 6, and then at one point we had like 8. But I usually had 2 or 3 people that had never played, and so it would be things like, "This is a fairway, this is a bunker." But a lot of fun times. It's a fun age.
Do your children play? Did they grow up, or did they gravitate to other sports?
They did both play, but didn't They didn't. My daughter in particular didn't like it at first, but she had a middle school. Her middle school science teacher was the golf coach, so she started playing. Both my kids could be very good. My son still plays with me when he's at home, but my son ended up he did play in the BGA for a few seasons, and so did my daughter. They Ian Thompson, we had been telling him, we were like, you need to have like a 9-hole thing, because our daughter didn't want to play 18. So they started the 9-hole thing for the gals. I think they even did it for the boys. I think they do it for the young boys. But so my daughter did that one summer also. But no, she doesn't play much. However, she did ask me to bring her golf clubs up to Massachusetts last time, because she has some coworkers and she goes to the range with them now. But my son ended up starting to play ping pong, and he's extremely good. Played in college, played at Texas A&M, and he still plays table tennis. So that we got big time into ping pong with him. So taking him to tournaments and things like that. So that was super fun to see a whole nother sport like that, and an indoor sport where you don't get rained out, you don't have delays. It was great.
Don't the enthusiasts look down on you if you call it ping pong? It's got to be table tennis.
No, what I've realized, I do call it table tennis too, but ping pong, they are so chill, they don't care. So they're not like us, where you shouldn't say pin, you need to say flag. You shouldn't say sand, you're supposed to say bunker. None of that. They don't do that.
I worked with a guy who was a table tennis official, and in the office, just to get him going, we would call it ping pong. And
So I
he
guess
would
maybe there are a few people that still do that, but no, we call it both.
he would give us the stink eye anytime you said ping pong.
Yeah.
But I noticed in your notes you said you just got back from a trip to Australia and New Zealand, which is on my bucket list.
Oh, yeah. You need to go. And we were in Australia. We were just in Melbourne, which is the sand belt, similar to Sand Hills, where we live. And I have to say, it is similar. But I got to play Royal Melbourne. That was my very first course. And that's an Alistair McKenzie who did Augusta. I mean, I've never played a course quite like it. It was awesome. So yeah, that was a trip of a lifetime. And then we went to New Zealand. Chris, my husband, had USGA business in Australia. That's what got us there. And then my son's doing a travel visa, like a work visa in New Zealand. So we just went there to see him and do some hiking. And I mean, what a beautiful country that is too. And then I did get to play a great Core and Crenshaw course my last day in New Zealand. So these architects, they get to go some neat places.
Apparently so do USGA folks.
Well, yeah. He liked this one. He's going back. And my husband had some back issues, and he didn't want to play golf and maybe mess up his back before we got to New Zealand with my son, because we had all kinds of hiking and kayak, all that kind of stuff planned. So I felt bad because he walked while we played Royal Melbourne. He walked, but he said that, don't worry, I'm coming back. So he's already planned to come. He's going back next spring, I think. So he'll play then.
What was Royal Melbourne like? What distinguishes it as one of the world's top 5 courses, probably?
Well, it's hard to put in words, but every tee, when you stand on the tee, you're kind of just in awe. And it's kind of wild. It's very wide. So it's expansive is maybe a better word. The views are expansive. And then the way that he did his bunkering there, which they do, numerous of their courses are like this. The bunkering is just spectacular. How they've done it. It blends, and it's it blends. And then the way they do too, like their greens just fall off in the bunker. They don't have collars, most of the courses. So that's kind of really eye catching too. Like it's really nice to see that with your eyes. So yeah, and then like just very difficult. You have to think a lot, which we have courses like that here. And in fact, number 10, which if you get it back to Pinehurst, or anyone that's listening, number 10 that's at Pinehurst Country Club now, that's a Tom Doak. There's shades of what I felt at Royal Melbourne on number 10 also. 10's not quite as expansive look. I mean, it is, but it doesn't, I don't know. It's Melbourne. Everything wasn't perfect either, but that was kind of fine. Like you kind of want it to be a little wild.
Mhm.
Yeah, I, it was just every hole I kept going, whoa. And then you'd play the hole and it just was demanding. But also you could still run things up and, you could still do some things if you messed up, but yeah.
Speaking of Doak, have you played, Bandon?
No, that's on my list though. I'd love to. Have you guys gone there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I played the '07, US Mid-Am out there. It was
Oh,
really nice.
uh-huh.
so I think it's a place you need to go back to the second time, because the first time, you're
Yeah.
just kind of in awe of the views and
Yes.
the different shots that you have to hit. But
Right.
it's an amazing place, no doubt.
Mhm.
Well, and that speaking of which, I think the reason I loved Royal Melbourne also, we played with a gal, she's in her early 30s that works for Golf Australia, and she and I are similar golf game. And so I was playing with someone who was telling me everything I needed to know. And there were numerous holes I would not have played it the way I did because I had her. So that made it super enjoyable also because yes, I agree. There's plenty of courses like number 10. The first time I played it, I'm like, I need to play this again. There were just too many things where I'm like, oh, now I see that. Yeah.
Yeah. I toured 10 before it opened, and it looked
Mhm.
amazing, and
Oh my gosh.
I can't wait to get back and play it, because it
Yeah.
just, I think the one hole that's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's number 6 or 7, but it's got the big mound in front of the tee.
8. Yeah.
Yeah, 8, and then you once you crest the green, it's uh, it's called the reveal or something, where you can really see a lot of the golf course.
Yes.
Just spectacular.
Well, and that hole is just, yeah, that's a crazy hole with the moguls and stuff. So, yes. And yeah, that's a neat hole. And you're right. When you come above, and they have a halfway house that just got finished now that's right as you crest. So they have rocking chairs out there and fire pits and all kinds of stuff.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, there are plans for an 11, right? Right,
Right. Which is
kind
going to
of
be
adjacent to the property.
correct. Corn Crenshaw, they're going to have a restaurant out there and you can stay out there. So I could foresee a time people just come and they only play those two.
Hmm.
Yeah.
There's something else.
So, Pinehurst is one of those holy grail spots, and you're
Mm-hmm.
fortunate to be there. Uh, what are some of your favorite courses? Maybe not number 2, number 4, but like,
Right.
Mid Pines is one of my favorite courses in the
Mm-hmm.
world. Have you gotten to experience a bunch of those?
Yes. Just in like our CGA events or Carolina Golf Association, we have 1-day things. So I've played a lot. Yeah. I Mid Pines to me is beautiful. I love all the views too. That's a really good Donald Ross. Pine Needles, we play that a little bit. Um,
Yeah, I really like Pine Needles.
mm-hmm. I thought Pine Needles was fun. Um, I'm trying to think. The course I haven't gotten to play that I would like to play is the Dormy Club. Have either one of you played there?
I played there right after it opened. It
Yeah.
was really good.
And they've changed that, so it's a lot harder to get onto. But I might have a member friend, so I might see if I can get on that this coming year.
Have you
Uh,
been up to Tobacco Road and played?
no, I'm hesitant on that because I don't know if that's I don't like a lot. I like courses where I can see the ball land, and I've heard you can't see the ball land a lot there.
Right off the bat, the first tee shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So I
yeah,
don't know. That's when I hear you love or you hate, or you definitely have to play it multiple times. And I don't know what it's gotten really expensive. So I don't know if I want to
yeah.
go do that, uh, make myself, whatever. But yeah, I'll probably play it at some point. Maybe they'll have some CGA event there. That usually gets me
Yeah.
get to try one of them.
I think the course at Pinehurst that to me is very underrated, he talks about, is number 3.
Mm-hmm. I haven't played that yet. That's on my list. I've played 2, 4, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So I need to play three. Three I've heard is very fun to play, and I've heard one is pretty fun to play. So I might do that this winter when it's less, crowded and
Yeah.
stuff.
Have
Mhm.
y'all enjoyed your time up in Pinehurst?
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great. It's been a little bit of an adjustment coming and being in a different. I think that's when I alluded to the Alabama Golf Association and kind of wishing I could bring all of them here. I think it's just hard to come in sometimes, especially I'm upsetting the apple cart here. The apple cart was sort of, you know, they had it set the way it was. So it's taken a little bit of time, but I think, this year felt a lot better. And so yeah, I love it. And really the intangibles of being close to family. My in-laws live about 4 hours away now instead of 13. My sister-in-law lives 2 hours away instead of 15. So it's been great to be able to see them and, get close enough to family. And everything's like a lot of my golf tournaments I can actually drive to from here, which wasn't always true in Alabama.
Mhm.
But yeah. So yeah, we love it. Miss Alabama. I miss my friend. There's something about that about Alabama. And now, like when I'm in a tournament on the tee, the USGA ones, they'll say, from Pinehurst, North Carolina. It still doesn't feel right. And when I was leaving Alabama, I told the AGA, I said, I've come up with a solution for this, which was some people hyphenate their last name when they get married. I'm going to hyphenate my hometown. And I'm going to be, here's Kathy Hartwiger from Birmingham, Alabama, hyphen Pinehurst, North Carolina, because it's just not, it's in me. It is my golf history. So there's no taking Alabama golf. I don't think I'd be where I am without having lived in Alabama.
One thing I did want to ask you about, I believe it was at the 23 senior women's amateur. You got paired against our friend Linda Jeffrey, I believe.
Yes.
Was that the cutthroat match of the century out there?
Well, it was hard. I much prefer playing people I don't know, and especially a friend. So yeah, it was difficult. I never liked that. I'd rather play someone I don't know. But it was good. It's exciting for her, and I think she played great that year, and then really, with everything she's struggling with cancer, it was incredible what she did this year.
Right.
And I think she just got tired. I think she got exhausted. It wasn't the golf. She could have gone further. So maybe next year will be her another big year. So
Yeah, that was last year was kind of her breakthrough
yes,
year out there,
right.
playing well.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you about that because she had mentioned I don't think she playing friends is difficult because
Yeah.
you want to win but you want to see them do well
Oh
also.
yeah, yeah. It is very hard.
So what's the future looking like for Kathy?
Well, I retired when we moved here, so I've played a lot of golf. And both years I've said maybe it was too much. Because just the fatigue sets in. But um, then I'm doing my goals and my kind of my schedule for this year, and I'm noticing I'm having trouble not writing them, writing them down because I'm 59. I'll be 59 in January, and I know I don't have a whole lot of years left. Um, I'm doing some physical training and that kind of thing just to try to keep it going a little longer. So yeah, I'm just going to keep going. For me, golf, because sometimes people have said, why are you, and when I think about it too, I'm like, I've already done so much. Why do I keep going? Especially in times where it can get wearing, the same thing over and over again and the stress of it. But I think it's because for me, golf is not predictable. There's a lot of uncertainty in it. And that's how life is too. And I don't know, this like golf transcends something for me. And I know a lot of people feel this about their sport, but golf to me there's just something incredible where it kind of, me having to face that every time I play and compete, the uncertainty of it, the unpredictability of it, it toughens me up for the life part that's uncertain and unpredictable. So I think that's why, it's why I keep going is number one, it gives me something to strive for. It makes my everyday life better, because I'm staying in shape. I'm watching what I eat. I'm constantly, thinking about how to get better. And I guess I'd figure something else out if I wasn't doing that with golf. But golf, to me, you never get there. I've never gotten to where, okay, good, this is good. Because you can't just stay there, which just like in life, you can't just stay where you are. It's ever changing.
Well said.
So I'm going to keep on going.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Did you arrive in North Carolina with the target on your back because your peers up there think, oh, here comes the hot shot from Alabama?
Yes, half and half. I had been here, 30 years before when my husband was at NC State, so I knew some of the people, but yeah, a little bit. And women's golf, it's a little different than men's golf. So yeah, it was a little bit of that, but I would say, the majority of people, especially now, it's kind of settled, and we're in a good spot. And a lot of people very happy to have me here too. So,
well, you're carrying the Alabama flag in
yeah,
North Carolina, so
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm bringing our pot, like, cause some of my friends in Alabama were like, oh, what's it like? And I'll tell them I miss them. And they're like, what do you miss? And one of the things was we just had, and I don't know if it's the size, cause we're so much smaller in Alabama. But our culture was much more, it was kind of what Linda and I would talk about. You're rooting for now you want to beat them, but you're not beating them at all costs. There's not this, I don't know. Women have a tendency, they don't do it to your face. They do it reputationally. And men are a lot better. I think if they're annoyed by something, they just deal with it and then move on. But I think I'm seeing some of that shift here too. So I think that would be the one thing if we could bring that culture from Alabama here.
Mm-hmm.
And it's here. It's just some of the people that I think were a little higher up in the grouping that didn't have that attitude. So
when does your season get started this next year, and what's on the schedule?
My last thing now is I go to Fort Lauderdale in January, beginning of January, for the Doherty, which is a match play senior event. And then I don't play again until very end of May. So that I have some off time, work on my swing and all that stuff. Off season.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, we do appreciate you taking some time
Yeah.
Thank you
to
so
catch
much.
up. We're trying to be very diverse with this podcast, and trying to build an audience. So,
well, keep up the good work, and good luck, Chris, with your golf. Also, hope you make it to the men's senior.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All
right.
We want to thank Kathy Hartwiger for taking time out of her day to talk about her career in Alabama and her fond memories of being down here. And it was just a great day to catch up with Kathy and hear about what she's doing now also. So we appreciate her joining us and looking forward to future episodes with her.
Yeah, it was a good interview. She's a very nice person, and what a talent. Thanks again for listening to the Cart Barn Podcast. And a reminder, you can catch us now on YouTube as well. We would appreciate any thumbs up and follows. And we'll be back again next week with another episode on the Cart Barn. Thanks for listening.